Hello guys. Welcome back to another live stream. It has been quite some time, but I just did something very important which I want to update on immediately here. Let me put everything in place and let me wait for the first people to start joining, and then I will give a big update on what I'm doing with Bitcoin here on this move to the downside and what I'm currently seeing for the Bitcoin chart. And I will also open somewhat of a shorter term Bitcoin chart. Um, let me grab one. Look at that. Look at that. Like this. Okay, there we go. Let me check. I see yes, I see that the first people have joined. I will probably start seeing the first questions dropping in the chat here. Also, I shared my update in the VIP Telegram group here already, so make sure to come over to here also. I will be answering some questions in the group specifically. So yes, I will come back to that a little bit later. But thanks for the first guys dropping in here. Let me check if the audio works fine here. I think it does. Yes, it does. Okay, then we can dive in because I want to give a big update on what I'm doing with my Ethereum position here. And I first of all seeing the question dropping in, what is the 50 weekly moving average doing? And that is what I wanted to discuss, and that is why I decided to now take in another Bitcoin position, not Ethereum, because most of you guys do know indeed I have an Ethereum trade open also. I will discuss that in tomorrow's update video again. Now I do want to dedicate it to my new Bitcoin trade here I just took on VX, because I'm I have set some limit orders and big limit orders on Bitcoin here, and I will exactly explain why. First of all, limit order at the 103k level, and then on our way down. So what I'm going to do is my trading position is I will be slowly DCing into the markets here at different levels: 103k, 100k, 98k and 93k. Those are going to be my important levels, and shout out to Crypto Rover, who's also placing these limit orders and basically has been predicting this entire dump to the downside. So he's also taking out his entry is coming very close, which is true. But I do want to give him a big shout out, and my trade is also based on his thesis and his trading position. So I was like, why wouldn't I join him here? Because I personally also think that this retest at the 103k is going to be a first important one. That is why my first entry is that 103k level, and then on our way down there are more important levels I will be scaling in on, and we are slowly DCing in. Also, we are building up the position size. So first full position size 22k, then 33, then 41, 50, 51. So if we are going to see truly generational opportunity, like for example the 93k level, then I will be scaling in more aggressively even. So yes, this is what I'm currently doing with my Bitcoin trade, and I wanted to give a big update on that. Why nobody talks about Bitcoin versus the euro? I think because the US dollar is the reserve currency, is the dominant pair. It's the most important pair, most definitely. But are you seeing something interesting on the Bitcoin versus euro chart? Then, in that case, Bitcoin on the short term also looks interesting. We discussed this in this morning update video. I think for Bitcoin, now indeed we are starting to break down of this major support level, and then we have an interesting area here, where my next limit orders are laying after 103k, the 100k level, and a little bit lower. those are going to be, or this is going to be an interesting zone for our limit orders. And I think from here we could see a bounce, or it's going to happen a little bit lower indeed at the 93k level, because that is where we have seen some historical price action also. From there we could see a bounce, but also from off this point, for example. So that's what I'm currently looking at for the Bitcoin chart. I do think there's a high likelihood that Bitcoin could find some support here and then head higher, because I personally think that Bitcoin could be front running a bear market indeed. It is possible, but looking at the bigger perspective, what I'm seeing with gold, what I'm seeing with the stock market, I think for Bitcoin there's most definitely still a dead cat bounce left, but probably an even bigger bounce. And I would say that a move to the range highs is very much possible for Bitcoin still. And if that's going to be the case, I think the risk reward of this trading position here and accumulating on the downside here is going to be very big. And of course, I will be updating on this in the private VIP channel also. This Telegram is not refreshing that good, but I will be updating here in the channel also. Do you think you can really get it below 100k? Let's see, but I need to position myself just in case, because I don't know if we can remember of was this liquidation event, from which after we've seen all this bearish price action, basically this liquidation event was of course also very unexpected. So if Bitcoin is going to see something similar again, and if we could be dropping lower again in the near future, yes, then I do want to be accumulating at those levels before heading back up. What do you think about the thesis that we see or that we saw at the beginning of a recession, and that's the Fed lower rates? Something very interesting I saw about the potential US recession is that actually if you don't account all of the let's say blue chips and Magnificent Seven, and also some important of basically all of the AI stocks, if you would not count them in the US economy and the total health of the US economy and total investments, the USA would already be in a recession. So it is interesting. I don't think it's the case now, because you can also see on the stock market, and we have been posting about this on the Crypto Rover channel also, on the stock market, stock valuations just keeps on pushing higher. We keep beating the earnings, and as long as we keep beating earnings, I think the market is just going to stay in a general trend up, because there's no reason for the market to come down. In that case, for the US stock market, I think, for example, Palantir also exceeded the earnings once again. It's earnings season now, so now we are getting all of this stuff out. Amazon did, and a few other ones, big ones did. Of course, we saw Nvidia coming in with crazy earnings once again. So as long as that's going to be the case, I don't think it is a bubble indeed, but I don't think as long as that is the case, the bubble is not going to burst probably. What are your targets on Ethereum? Let me dive into this. I need to make this chart again in TradingView, but I lost it and it's a lot of work. I'm sorry, but for Ethereum I still have my Fibonacci retracement levels, which I'm following. So the 1.6.8 target and the second Fibonacci target, and I will be giving a big update on this trade too on LBANK in tomorrow's update video, because I will be adding a little bit more to that trade also in the near future. 98k next up. If that's going to be the case, I'm going to be prepared with my next limit order. So for me, it does not matter that much, to be honest. For me, both scenarios are completely fine. Let me see if some people are dropping questions in the no, not necessarily. Alright. Tomorrow the jobless claims. I don't think the jobless claims come out, because we are still in a government shutdown. What if Bitcoin drops to 92 to 98k? Yeah, what if? Then my limit orders are going to get filled. And like stated on the Bitcoin chart on the short-term perspective, I think, let me just get everything out for the people that are just joining in. Let me clear everything up. Look, if Bitcoin is going to, first of all, we have this important area, which I think Bitcoin is likely to see a bounce from, and where we have some historical price data, of course. After that, indeed, the 92k level is going to be a big level of interest for me, and that's why I opened my biggest limit order at the 93k level here. So if Bitcoin is going to drop to those levels, I'm still expecting a bounce back up, personally. But yeah, on the other hand, if from there we are going to just drop much lower, it is indeed going to be a big problem. Also, if you zoom out in that perspective, if Bitcoin is trading at, let's say, 93k, it is going to be a very big wick, and it's going to be scary if that is truly going to be the case. So maybe I will be adjusting my limit order at that current moment also, because this is going to be a major wick in that case. If it's going to happen very fast, for example, if it's just going to be boom boom, if it's going to be a big wick, I think that's going to be very bullish. But if you're just going to drop lower, lower, lower and confirm weekly closes here under the moving average 50, I think the weekly closes under it are the most important. We could touch the 92k level and then head back up with, for example, one weekly candle. But you don't want to see 1, 2 weekly closes and then a little bounce and then, for example, just back like we saw in 2021. Also breaking back below, we saw a lot more than 2 weekly closes, of course, but then we saw a bounce back up, but that was clearly a very weak bounce, a dead cat bounce, and then you see like a crazy bear market hit. So I am very cautious of that, and maybe it's good to also show you guys, because we have been talking about this level a lot, of course, but I want to show the significance of it. Just like this. Every single time Bitcoin loses this level, we enter a bear market. So yes, if we are indeed going to confirm the close under this level, I think it's going to be a big danger point for Bitcoin. Here, let's see, here we broke back above it. Of course, in the 2019 move higher, but here we broke back below it. COVID crash, I don't really count this one. If you're just going to count a full cycle, here and now here. What do you think about that this cycle could already be over, because 4-year cycle already is at its ending stage? And why is this time different? Look, I think there is a good likelihood that the cycle is over. But on the other hand, I'm just going to wait for the price to confirm that, because I think it's also a kind of cycle where just something crazy could happen and the Bitcoin price could be shooting back up. Me personally, I'm just going to let the price confirm that. If we are going to see the weekly closes below, I know enough. I'm going to manage the risk on my positions. I will probably take a loss on my positions. But yeah, if we are going to see a bounce once again from off this level, and if it is indeed going to be a little bit different, then it is going to be a very good entry point. And that is what I'm currently looking for. And if you overlay it with, and that is my like my biggest thing with for example saying that we could be topping out. If you just overlay it with what the US stock market is doing, it's absolutely insane. Just look at the correlation, and we do know that in 75% of the cases, Bitcoin does tend to catch up with the US stock market. We have a 75% correlation. And then if I'm looking at this and I see that the stock market just keeps on climbing higher, earnings coming in higher, and it's not only the stock market, it's also gold, which now of course formed a local top, but doesn't really matter that much, because we still saw that major outperformance, and you still have the global liquidity. Here, let me, for example, put this one. Let me see if this one's a little bit accurate currently. No, this is not a good one. Where is the good global liquidity? That one, I think. Yes. Yeah, gold is currently not shifted forward, of course, but you can see the ID. Same can be said for the global liquidity. This is, of course, the weekly perspective, but on the daily, let me check it out. Let's clean the chart up a little bit. I think we've seen gold and we've seen the US stock market, and then you still have basically this crazy decorrelation now. And indeed, at the ending stage of the cycle, Bitcoin does tend to decorrelate from global liquidity, so it could happen like this. But yeah, I think on the macro perspective, there are just too many reasons why I don't see Bitcoin entering a bear market, to be fair. But I'm not going to be led by my own view on the markets, because it's easy to be wrong, of course. What I'm going to look at is the price itself. And if you're going to drop lower from here, of course, It's actually happening now. We just keep on getting coming in lower. I think, yeah, my limit order just got filled. My first limit order, guys. First position open. First position opened. 22k. Now it's getting interesting. Okay, I'm just reading through the chat. Um, First Bitcoin limit filled. Okay, I just dropped an update also in the. Oh, I just dropped an update also in the general chat of the FIP. Like I said, I'm always early here with giving replies and stuff. So make sure to come in here and join the VIP Telegram group, because here I will be updating mostly about this Bitcoin trade. So make sure to come over, but also Crypto Rover, his copy trading function, which is also very important, and our other professional trades. I don't want to show too much about setups, because I don't think that is fair for the members. But make sure to come and check it out. That's Conviction. Indeed, our first order got filled, and let's see where price is going to be heading next now. Good luck. Thank you so much. We will go back up when Bitcoin will touch 98k. Let's see. That is going to be my third limit order in that case. 98k. So it would be very nice. Then I'm in quite a decent position. Bear market, bear trap, always different, no panic. What prices point will you be opening longs in for ETH and Sol? Yeah, I do want to be adding to ETH. I'm closely managing my position on LBANK also, but I had a little trouble here with the current location now and with opening new trades. So that's quite unfortunate. But I will be giving a big update on that. I just have to arrange some stuff to open trades again. We will. What percentage of your bags do you trade with? Like my current net worth, you mean? My current portfolio? Trading sizes, I would say currently 20%. A little bit less actually, 10% I would say. Today I look Cryptex trade on ETH. GG's nice group. Thank you so much. Let me see. Let me show the trade of Cryptex. I haven't seen it. Oh, this is a very big one. Let me give him a big shout. Cryptex is actually I think a very talented trader. He's also trading a lot, and look at the setups he's sharing, like how detailed they are. I think that's something you don't see a lot, and he's also actively engaging with the community. But I can say this for all of the traders, like Polaris. He's been dropping crazy alpha the last few months. Razel, which has been taking some big losses lately, but if you're looking at his full portfolio, look at his results. Look at the results. Plus, about almost 400k in the last 7 days he did. It's quite insane. He has been spot on. Definitely once shorting Bitcoin on the way down here. Very interesting. Gas Shadow also very nice. Somewhat of a more simple trader, I would say. Also giving you a lot of spot positions, maybe a little bit of lower risk. But I think all of the trades, they do have a proven win rate. They do have a proven track record. So don't worry about that. Mario, I also like his setups a lot. Now in Bitcoin a limit long order, he's also in the taking. So I'm showing too much. I'm showing too much, guys. You should just join the group. But here we have a limit long order, 102k, 100k, 97k. So it looks a lot like what I'm doing with my long order. Only I have one position a little bit lower indeed. So yeah, the group is basically going heavily long on Bitcoin. And look at this, how I keep my risk management. Just it's crazy. He's just dropping a complete guide with his risk management. I think it's such alpha actually. I think this group is of very high value, personally. Uh, Let me forward. Uh, just let me give him a quick shout out in the chat here because it's insane what he's been doing. Insane. Let me also just quickly manage this for a bit. Boom. This is better. And I must say this is like crazy alpha. This risk management. Okay, I will go back to the charts and to the setups, guys. Ooh, Bitcoin dropping ever so slightly lower to our area of interest now. Putting the price here also, labels, symbol, last price, 102.6k. Let's see. Good time to accumulate Bitcoin now, or should we wait? Yeah, look, for me, that's always the question of what is your full strat going to be. Are you just going to accumulate in one go? I would just DCA in, look at my levels, look at the other level of other people's, or levels of other people. No financial advice, but I think the most important thing is just slowly DCA in and just enter your full position in one go, because then it's hard to keep your emotions in control. Since if you enter, for example, now your full position size here, just to give a quick example, you have 20k, you put everything in here, and then Bitcoin is going to drop ever so slightly lower to the 93k level. You are like going to get liquidated, or almost going to get liquidated. Probably you are going to sell somewhere in between because you can't handle the risk, you can't handle the emotions. But if you just enter your position in a few goes on that entire move down with conviction, it's going to be much easier to manage your trade. And also, you will have a much better entry on Bitcoin just in general, to be fair. We don't top in doom and gloom, we top in euphoria. True, that has been happening in last cycles, but yeah, the cycle is different in many ways, so let's see about it. We don't, good time to accumulate Bitcoin now, or should we wait? I just answered that. Okay, just answered that. Let's go to the chart. And now we are also starting to drop ever so slightly below the 50 weekly moving average. Ever so slightly. What are doing with your E-Trade? I'm keeping it open. And like stated, I have some trouble with my limit orders because my current location, I'm working on it with LBANK. So I can be opening my orders once again. But let me just quickly check it on my phone. I can't be opening trades because of my location. I'm sorry about that, but I'm working on it with the team. Yeah, it's still the same. Ethereum is actually holding up a little bit stronger, I must say, than Bitcoin. Looks like. But I'm keeping it open, and I will be ending at the 3.3 at 3 and 3.2k level. Hello, I've been trying into the trading group, but I don't use VX. I'm using Kraken. Is there still an opportunity to join? Yeah, unfortunately for the group, you need to use VX. To be fair. What would it take for you to close your Ethereum trade and say that it's over and now we are in a bear market? It would take Bitcoin closing below the 50 weekly here, 2 weekly closes. It's going to depend on Bitcoin. So that's why I'm keeping it open, because otherwise, why would I be entering like my Bitcoin trading position? You know, it would not make a lot of sense. But yeah, unfortunately, man, I can't do much if you're in Kraken. But send me a private message. You can do check description. I will look if I can make an exception for you. I don't think it will go lower than 102k. Let's see. I think it could actually do a drop a little bit lower. I think this is an important area of interest to the 98k level, I would say, something like that. Probably drop a little bit lower, grab some more liquidity, and then start moving back up. Boom, boom, boom. This would be my perfect Bitcoin scenario. I don't think cycles end on extreme fear. They don't, but if, for example, this was the cycle top, um, then it's very logical that now you are in quite some big fear, to be fair, I must say. If this was the cycle top. We are bleeding with no end. Yeah, sometimes it seems like it. Bitcoin coming back up ever so slightly. GG's. uh, 5 minutes. Very small bounce now here at the bottom. Very small bounce. Let's see if we have some new stuff also happening here. US government shutdown and the longest it had ever been. 102.5k Bitcoin. Mm-mm-mm. On 2k, then the FOMO entry. Let's see. I think we did like a good update on my trade. It's getting a little bit late here, and like, guys, why I'm also having some trouble with the trade and why I haven't been that active lately, but I will be much more active now in the upcoming days. Is I have moved to a new house, so I have to, I needed some time for my new setup and a lot of stuff, and from now on it's falling into place a little bit more. So also I'm taking more action on the markets now, like I'm doing with my trading position and a lot of other stuff. So um, that's it basically. And what I wanted to say, it's getting a little bit late here now. If you still have any questions, make sure to drop them now in the chat. Then I will look into them, and after that I will just end the stream here, because I think I did like a good update on my Bitcoin position. Don't be scared, Bitcoin is going to drop ever so slightly lower. It usually happens under the 50 weekly, like for example here in the tariffs move lower. We saw about a 3% wick under the 50 weekly, and here also. Only difference is that these were like very different scenarios actually, but yeah, I would say it's still possible, because if you look at the Bitcoin fear and greed index, we are now in extreme fear, so it's not that weird to see like a 2 to 3% drop still from here, and that will mean Like worst case scenario, it would mean something like this indeed. Yeah, I think this is your key area of interest, where you do want to see Bitcoin bouncing, and from there we just have to monitor the markets again. Do we think seasonality is over, and is it now just a Trump season? Yeah, look, seasonality wise, we should still see a Bitcoin bounce. Um, and you can also, yeah, it's hard, man. It's such a hard period. I think it's better to just look at the 50 weekly and see how we are going to perform from there, and look at the bigger perspective. But seasonality wise, look, if you now are going to take a look at the Bitcoin monthly returns, yeah, why crypto is lagging? Look, it happens sometimes, and it's just a little bit of risk on, risk off. And what's currently the most interesting, investors are choosing equities because there's much more currently much more momentum, and also a lot of AI equities. Um, but could be two reasons, or it's just going to be normal lagging behind, like we've seen a few times before, and then Bitcoin eventually catches up once we're going to pivot more to risk assets like Bitcoin crypto, or Bitcoin's indeed front running a bear market, and it's indeed the start of a bear market and the end of the 4 year cycle. It's also a possibility, but I think the chance of that are lower than what's happening now. But look, the US stock market pumping, as I also think it is like a very big reason why I would say that the Bitcoin top is not in. But on the other hand, I think if you are going to compare Bitcoin with the 2019, or if you're going to zoom back to the 2019 cycle, here on the daily, let me zoom all the way back here, 2019, okay, where we saw like this mini bull market. I think what we saw there was also interesting, because we saw Bitcoin basically entering like a downtrend indeed after putting in the top like this. We saw Bitcoin having a major downtrend, and we saw stocks just moving up higher. So it's not always like this. And in the end, you could see it, Bitcoin does catch up. Then we got COVID, so I think this is very different, of course. But yeah, it's not always like this. And the 2019 cycle is in many ways comparable with what we're seeing now, because if you overlay it with for example, the balance sheet, you can also see, of course, that was the moment where quantitative tightening happening here. This quantitative tightening, Fed balance sheet moving lower. Here we saw start of QE, basically very slow QE. This is also something which you are probably going to see in the near future, or actually the end of quantitative tightening we are going to see. So or it's just going to be like this, or we are indeed going to see the Fed balance sheet moving up again and QE getting started. But it's going to be one of the two, and that's why that's also looking quite similar. And I must say, when that happened, we saw Bitcoin moving actually slightly lower, then starting to move higher in QE phase. Then we saw COVID, then we saw massive QE, of course, but this is not that comparable anymore, I personally think. I think what's comparable is that Bitcoin does not always perfectly correlate with the US stock market. That was what I'm trying to say. What did this trade down from here? I'm cooked. Let's see, brother. Let's keep our eyes on the chart here. Thanks, bro. Get well soon. Thank you so much. Okay, guys. That was it for today's stream. Like stated, one more time, I will show my limit orders here if you do want to follow. You can find, of course, the link to our VIP Telegram chat of group here in the description of the update video. Also the link to LBANK, where you can be trading yourself. It's my favorite exchange out there. And I must say, if you're going to join the VIP group, you can also get some offers with WeX. So make sure to come and check it out. Of course, in no way financial advice. You should do what you like yourself. And yes, I will see you guys in my next live stream. And thank you all for watching. I will try to be much more active in the next few days. And let's see what is going to be happening here for Bitcoin tonight. Have a good night, guys. And I will see you guys within my next update video tomorrow morning.